access route of Windward Street, and also to submit water consumption estimate addressing the concern of an adequate water supply by its next meeting, which is today. Additionally, we sent out another letter asking, encouraging the applicant to meet with the adjoining and surrounding community in hopes of addressing the concerns that were expressed at the last meeting. So again, this is a continued hearing. I wanted to bring to your attention some submittals that have been submitted to the planning department since our last meeting. We have a letter dated November 21st. This was submitted by the applicant. It was addressed to the Department of Water Supply, and it actually has the preliminary estimate of potable water consumption. So that is one of the items requested from the Planning Commission that has been submitted to the Department of Water Supply. Additionally, there was a request to work on an alternate access through the south adjoining property. A meeting was held between Mr. Bill Brohanti Sr., the planning director, as well as the applicant on December 5th in regards to that issue. And if I could ask the planning director to just speak briefly about the meeting results. I was just asking if you could just briefly summarize our meeting that we had with the applicant and Mr. Brohanti regarding the alternate access.
Mr. Brohanti is in the process of applying for a subdivision which would lie between the applicant's property and the Kaumana extension. We don't have a final map yet, kind of in negotiation, but the reality is that there's no specific timeline on any subdivision that Mr. Brohanti would put in. And if anyone is familiar with subdivisions on this island, between the time somebody applies for a map to designate how many lots they're going to put in and where the roads are going to be, it can be years before something's actually built. I live off of Wilder in a subdivision where there have been plans for I think the 900 acres Mackay of me going back to probably the 1970s or 80s, but I know that I first saw it on a council agenda back in like 1993 when Brian DeLima was a council member, and we've been waiting. I've been there since '89, and nothing's happened next door. So the reality is, although the potential for a connection to Kaumana that could be accessed by connections could be there in the future, the likelihood that it would be there in the near future or could be used as a primary access is highly speculative, and probably cannot be a basis for a recommendation in terms of the actual application. If the application is going to proceed and be considered, it has to be considered on the basis of access coming off of Edita and Kaumana as the primary. And in the future, there's an opportunity to connect to Kaumana, that would be great, but it would be speculative because there's no timeline on when or if Mr. Brohanti would actually build his subdivision.
Any questions for staff?
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I still need to.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Okay, so in regards to the request from the Planning Commission, we've received the water calculations that have been submitted to the Department of Water Supply. The applicant and the planning director and Mr. Brohanti has had a meeting. Additionally, the Planning Commission asked the applicant to make an effort to meet with the community. At this time, they haven't met with them, but if you could look at this packet that has been submitted to you, these larger colored packets. This is information regarding the previous community meetings, as well as one that they are scheduling on December 17th of 2012. And so that information is right at the beginning of this packet. So that's the third item that was requested by the Planning Commission. Along with these items, the Planning Department has received letters of support, as well as this morning we've received additional letters. I haven't had a chance to go through them, but they have been passed out to the Planning Commission. Lastly, we've received two letters from the applicant, one dated November 16th and the second one dated December 5th, 2012. The applicant is requesting a continuance of this hearing matter. He has the reasons for the continuance on the December 5th letter. It goes into the matter that the planning director spoke about earlier regarding representation from the Attorney General's office. And with that, that concludes our presentation. Are there any questions?
Any questions for staff?
Yeah, I'm not very good at
Microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. Could you kind of orient me on the map again?
Sure. Okay, our subject property is identified with two black outlines. The property is actually cut in half by Edita Street. Just for reference, going through the middle of the map, we have Kaumana Drive, the white line, as well as on the lower portion of the map, we have Puainico Street. So this property falls in between these two main streets. Again, we have Edita, which would be considered the primary access for the Kaumana, the connection school. At this time, it appears that the majority of structures would be located on what we consider the lower portion of the school. The only thing that's proposed on the upper parcel is a elevated walkway that would be at least 100 feet away from Kaumana Cave, which runs underneath a portion of the subject property. The different colors on the map represent zoning. The subject property is zoned agricultural 1 acre. The darker yellow and the lighter yellow represent residential zoning. The blue and the darker green represent agricultural zoning as well.
Excuse me. Light green or dark green?
No problem. This area here, the subject property is light green, which is agricultural 1 acre.
That's what it is.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we'll go into a brief applicant presentation. So like when you guys are all sworn in, maybe just speak to the last. Yeah, could you raise your hand? Do you affirm to tell the truth in front of the Windward Planning Commission today?
Yes.
Mr. Conway.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just so for everybody's introduction, gentleman wearing the blue shirt, the long shirt is John Thatcher, principal of Connections Charter School. Celia Jen is the far right. That's my right. So I'm going to start again, consistent with my theme this morning, starting with a song. I'm going to quote Jimi Hendrix's version of All Along the Watchtower. So let us not talk falsely now, the hour is getting late. We are here this morning asking for a continuance for two reasons. One are the three conditions that were previously asked of us. We've provided the water calculations, consumption calculations. Two, we've actually had two meetings with Mr. Brahante. One with the planning director, one with Sue Leloy, who met with Mr. Brahante personally prior to that meeting. And the third meeting with the community, we have scheduled it. We've had problems trying to get Kaumana Elementary School cafeteria because it was not available. We scheduled it for the 17th. One of the things that we wanted to bring to the commission's attention is that we are willing to hire a facilitator and actually trying to hire a facilitator to conduct the meeting instead of us doing it ourselves at our own cost, and unfortunately, we just couldn't schedule it before today's meeting. The second major reason, and the reason we're asking for the courtesy of continuing this particular hearing, is after today, the Attorney General's office will be representing Connections Charter School. They are concerned about the issues of land use and the appropriate uses for agricultural zoned areas. They've consulted with Mr. John Thatcher and are concerned about some of the issues that were brought up. So at that point, after today, fortunately, you don't have to hear me quoting corny songs, but you will be addressing, and the Attorney Generals will be representing Connections Charter School, and I will have no further participation with Connections, unfortunately. But it is a great project. I anticipate testifying on my own, but we'd ask for the courtesy of an extension or continuance to allow the Attorney General to appear personally on behalf of Connections Charter School. I would note the Deputy Attorney General Monica Morris could not be here this afternoon because she had a previously scheduled deposition in another issue, another litigation matter that she could not break away from. Thank you.
Okay, so would anybody else like to speak for that?
Yes, I'd like to.
Can you state your name and where you reside, and you may begin?
My name's John Thatcher. I reside in Kaumana. I just want to touch on a couple of things that my testimony, my 3-page testimony, I don't want to go through the whole thing, but earlier today, Mr. Hirakami talked about the issue of charter school facilities. So we have been a charter school since 2000, and we do not receive any money from the state to build facilities. This is despite Article 10 of the Hawaii State Constitution that says the state shall provide for the establishment, support, and control of a statewide system of public schools free from sectarian control, a state university, public libraries, and such other educational institutions as may be deemed desirable, including facilities therefore. So this is an issue for all charter schools. That's why you're seeing charter schools having to come to you with facilities issues. Our school has been working since 2007 to try to secure this land and get the permits needed, do all the studies. We have informed the community since 2008 when we were first granted the provisional lease of the land by the Board of Land and Natural Resources. And this came about, our ability to work with the Board of Land and Natural Resources, because a law was passed in 2006, I believe, could have been 2007, that allowed for the Board of Land and Natural Resources to take state land and give it to charter schools to use for their facilities. So this was the state's way of trying to help the charter schools without really spending a lot of money on facilities. We understand the position of the state. We're not opposed to not having facilities built for us like are built for other public schools. When we first decided on, or when we were first looking at the lots that were given to us, in 2007, we looked at the educational specifications for schools documents that were put out by the State Department of Education. One of the findings there, one of the suggestions there, is if a school had a high school campus, that it should be 50 acres or less, or 50 acres or more. It also had other specifications. They had 3 documents actually, one for elementary, one for middle school, one for secondary schools. We looked at the properties that were sent to us by the Department of Land and Natural Resources, and of the 7 properties that they gave us to look at, 2 were in residential area and 5 were in Kaumana, and they were zoned agriculture. Now in 2007, when we started looking at this, we also looked at county regulations. And we looked at the county plan, and the general plan, because there was no CDP, or there is no CDP that I believe is current now. The last one for Hilo proper was developed in 1975. There is a CDP for downtown Hilo, but there is not one since 1975, and I don't believe that that one actually applies nowadays. But in the general plan, it did say that it mentioned charter schools, and it said that charter schools are responsible for selecting their own sites. We also looked at a memo that came from, I think it came from planning. The memo defined the applicability of state laws, and it said charter schools are exempt from state laws except those relating to health and safety and a few other exceptions, i.e. building, fire, and sanitation codes. The major effect of this exemption is that charter schools located in state land use agriculture districts do not have to obtain a special permit. Now, I understand that there have been changes, there have been court cases that have dealt with this. We did not intend to proceed with that guidance after the court cases. We had no intention of trying to bypass the county special use permit. Another issue that I think is relevant here, and when we looked at the properties, we did look for agriculturally zoned properties. So the 5 that were in Kaumana, the only one that was bigger than 50 acres is the one that we have obtained the long-term lease on. The others were smaller, they were more landlocked, one had utilities lines running through it, and they would have been much more difficult to develop. So we chose that one, and I think part of the reason we chose it was because our school has always had a focus on sustainable industries. We want our students to be able to get an education that will allow them, if they choose, to find a job on the Big Island, or at least in the state of Hawaii. So this is important to us because the Constitution again makes a point for agriculture land and the preservation of agriculture land. Article 11 says the state shall conserve and protect agricultural lands, promote diversified agriculture, increase agricultural self-sufficiency, and assure the availability of agriculturally suitable lands. For us, it was very important that we are able to do something that we wanted to do from the beginning. We've only been able to do it on a limited basis, and that's to develop a strong agricultural program at our school. So this site looked like a good site when we looked at it. All of the surrounding, or most of the surrounding neighbors were in agriculturally zoned houses. So when people in Pacific Plantations first bought their houses, they knew that they were buying homes on 1 acre agriculturally zoned lots. In looking at the map for the area, you'll see that there are a lot of agriculture lands in the area. In fact, as you go up Kaumana, or up the new Quantico extension, there are over 2,000 acres of land that is zoned agriculture. And the land is also, if you look at county documents, you'll see that the majority of that area is also deemed for future urban expansion. And so as a school, we saw 2 things. We saw that there's a lot of agriculture land. We saw that the majority of the neighbors were on agriculture lots, and we did not feel that that would be a problem. If you look at the zoning issues between the state and the county over the years, I would reference Nathan Poakea Rorig's article in 2002 in the University of Hawaii Law Review, and I'm not going to read all of that, but he did make a case for preserving agriculture land and not taking large agricultural lots, subdividing them out into smaller lots, which are not even used for agriculture. So I think this is an important a document to look at, and I reference it in here. I also want to point out that the general plan that was updated in 2005, and I'm not sure if it's been updated since then, but it does, with no CDP to look at to give you guidance, I think you have to fall back to the general plan. If you look in the general plan, in section 14.9.2, the goals, two of the goals that are talking about state land say, utilize publicly owned lands in the best public interest and to the maximum benefit for the greatest number of people. Acquire lands for public use to implement policies and programs contained in the general plan. And one of the policies, 14.9.3, says, encourage uses of public lands that will satisfy specific public needs such as housing, recreation, open space, and education. In our mind, this makes it clear that this Planning Commission needs to look at the use of this land that will impact the greatest number of people. Now, I understand that there are neighbors that have done petitions in Kaumana, and I've heard a number of 500 signatures mentioned. Okay, so if we say here's 500 people opposed to the school, our population in our school is 360 students, about 60 staff members, and probably at least 200 other family members that are impacted by our school directly. If you look at the area that we service, charter schools are not defined by a single geographic location. Our school draws students from as far away as Pahoa, in that direction, up to Keao, from Keao up through Volcano, and we have 2 families now that live in Nalehu that are actually coming into Hilo and renting a house in Hilo so their children can attend our school. We have students from throughout the Hilo area, including Kaumana, and we have students as far away up to the north as Lapahoehoe. So I'm asking you to consider that this is a large area and a large population that is potentially impacted by our school and the programs that we're trying to provide. And I believe that a number of these people appreciate the choice on the Big Island of what programs they can go to, whether it be a traditional public school or a public charter school. And I believe that their voices perhaps are being overlooked when we look at the voices of a few. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, just in conclusion, I know Mr. Thatcher felt strongly about making sure that the record was clear, and I agreed with him. But again, the only decision that we're asking before the commission this afternoon is to continue this, to allow the Attorney General the opportunity to represent Connections. And I would note that it's a welcome opportunity because I think this is actually unprecedented where now the Attorney General is going to step into this issue of potential land use. So I would urge the commission to allow them the opportunity to adequately represent Connection School, hopefully at the next hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hong. Would you like to say a few words? Would you like to say something?
No.
Okay, well, that concludes the presentation by the applicant. We currently have 12 people signed up to testify. I'll bring you guys up in groups of 5. Okay, so it's a reminder now. You know, we may have heard a lot of you testified the last time, and you know, just please keep it brief and get to the point. You have 3 minutes to testify. So I have Eden Patino, Alan Novak, Melvin Yokota, Lynn Novak, and Dr. Henry Leo. So 5 of you guys can come up, and I'll swear you in. Okay, can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth in front of the Planning Commission today?
Yes.
Thank you. We'll start off with Eden Patino. please state your name and where you reside, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Eden Patino. I live in the Kaumana area. I wanted to say good afternoon and thank you for giving us an opportunity to come and listen to us. On behalf of the Connections Parent Teacher Student Ohana, our PTSO, I am their president, and I wanted to ask you to approve the special permit in consideration to build our school at the Kaumana area. Mainly because the students are our leaders and they deserve to have one school. It is difficult right now to have the Crest building and the 90-mile campuses in 2 different areas for the school. We just ask that we be in one location and that be the Kaumana area. Pretty much it's just look at the whole picture, look at the keiki. They're the ones that are the most important part of this process. It's not, I mean, I know everyone has their opinions and there's the traffic concerns and the water concerns, but this is manageable. For us, my biggest concern as a parent, having a tsunami hit the Crest building and not having my keiki out in time is one of my biggest concerns. That has always been my concern since day one. So I just ask that you look at the consideration of the Kaumana area and just make it a safe place for our children. And pretty much that's all I have to say. It's a simple request for the holidays. Dear Santa, all I want for Christmas is our school to be built. Thank you.
Any questions for the testifier? Okay, we'll move on to Alan Novak.
Yes, thank you. I'm Alan Novak. I have lived on Melimano Street going on 19 years now. And today I would just like to request that the commission deny the special use permit request today. I feel that the issue I wish to address isn't the program of the charter public school. I have no qualms about what they're doing for the students, and I think a lot of the testimony they've given you about the quality of their program is valid. However, I feel that the location that they have chosen is inappropriate. And I feel that for a number of reasons. One is that in selection of the location that's before you, they have mentioned that they looked at 7 different sites. They have also, in the public meetings, mentioned that the majority of their students come from the Puna area. The sites that they considered for building the school were not in the Puna area. Those were not a consideration. Makes one wonder if the fact that the principal, John Thatcher's home is within walking distance of the current proposed location was a factor in selecting that over a location that would be more convenient to the community where the majority of students reside. Another factor continues to be the infrastructure. We know that water supply is questionable. The 8-inch main that supplies the entire neighborhood, there's a question about whether or not that's going to be adequate and still hasn't been addressed. Sewage disposal, there is no piped sewage. It would be cesspool or leach field for this fairly large quantity of staff, students, and faculty, and we do have the Kaumana Cave extensions directly in this area. So how will the sewage affect those factors? But the biggest probably continues to be the traffic. We've learned today that access from Quantico Extension is not feasible. That means that the access for all 385 students, faculty, staff, and visitors is going to be going up Kaumana Drive, down that little narrow 2-lane Adidas Street, and entering the school from that one area in a very short period of time in the morning and exiting in the evening. That has not been mitigated. On the requirement of meeting with the community, I'm here to testify that I have received no notification of any planned meeting with Connections as of today. In fact, Ted Huang's mentioning earlier this today. It's the first that I heard of any meeting.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the testifier?
I,
Okay, Mr. Ono, Commissioner Ono?
you mentioned that, a great portion of the student population be coming from Baholo, or that area. And yet, I guess my concern is here, do you know if there were any properties offered to them in terms of developing a campus in that area?
No, I'm not familiar with what they requested, what they were provided, and what they considered. All that I know is what they've told us at the public meetings.
Yes, so, but your comment about moving the campus to an area that's more suitable to the student population is a suggestion. You don't have any facts to move the campus to the area.
I think in their environmental impact study, they did mention sites that were considered, and they were, and they were not in the Puna area. So what I'm saying here is they didn't look to see if there was a suitable location closer to where the majority of their students reside.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any more questions for the testifier? Okay, moving on to Melvin Yokota.
Yeah, I've been a resident of Pacific Plantation for 21 years, and my concern continues to be the increased traffic on Kaumana Drive. In a recent letter to parents, Mr. Thatcher pointed out an example of the skilled nursing facility that is scheduled to be built on the lower end of Kaumana. And he points out that that facility will have approximately 50 full-time employees coming to that facility per shift. From the numbers that they have given us as to the population of their campus, they envision a staff of about 30 to 60 employees, plus approximately 400 students. Now, in talking about the skilled nursing facility, Mr. Thatcher stated that that facility will negatively impact the traffic on Kaumana Drive. So, by comparison, just his school staff without the students will also negatively impact traffic on Kaumana Drive. Unfortunately, their staff and student traffic will affect a greater amount of Kaumana Drive than the skilled nursing facility. Since he says that it will negatively impact traffic, it appears to be in contradiction to what's stated in their special permit application, where they previously said that there will be no significant impacts from traffic. And
1 minute.
yeah, I'm not sure how you resolve that discrepancy between what he's saying now and what's in the special permit application. Thank you.
Any questions for the applicant? Sorry, for the testifier. I have a question. Have you been notified about this upcoming meeting?
No,
Okay, have you attended any meetings?
I have attended meetings in the past.
Any more questions?
Mr. Chair, I just want to make a note that the date of the letter that is going out to the community is dated December 5th. So since today's the 6th, I suspect that the reason they haven't gotten it is in the mail, because I have checked and you are on the mailing list. But so it'll probably be in your mailbox today, tomorrow, or the next day.
Thank you very much. Next testifier, Lane Novak. Okay, please state your name and where you reside.
Lane Novak, I live on Windward Street. I apologize.
Microphone, please.
I apologize. I didn't pass this out to you earlier. I'm testifying on behalf of Terrence Yoshioka. I'm sorry. Applicant has attempted to create the illusion that the 70-acre property is the only suitable property for its school. It has done so by making the following representations. 1, that it will develop an agricultural program for its students. 2, that its agricultural program will require 20 acres of land. And 3, that subject 70 acres is uniquely suitable, in quotes, for the program. But nowhere in the application has applicant provided proof that an agricultural program is needed or wanted by its students. There is no basis, therefore, to assume that applicant will actually develop such a program. And any conclusion based upon the presumption that the program will materialize is unsupportable. You folks can read the rest. What he does say is that the commission can also find, and I urge that it do so, that the property is not uniquely suited for applicant's program. To be unique, the property must exist as the only one or have no like or equal. This would mean that if the property's D or poor rated soil is uniquely suited for the program, then all other properties with better rated C, B, or A soils would not be uniquely suited for the program. It goes without saying that this is illogical, incomprehensible, and unbelievable. What I want to add to this is that Mr. Thatcher talked about the entire green section as 1 acre ag land. When we moved there, we had no idea that a school was going to be built. Everything was going to be 1 acre properties, and that's what we had agreed upon, and that's why we bought it there. If you look at the soil, there is no soil. It's built on lava. It's built on a 1980 lava field. How they propose to have agriculture on this type of land, I can't even grow citrus fruits on my land. That's how bad it is. I have to bring in soil. In fact, when Mr. Bill Brilhanti Sr. developed that property,
1 minute.
thank you. He had to bring in soil just to make our lawn. That's how bad the property is. Number 2, in our subdivision covenants, we cannot have any farm animals. We're not allowed to have, quote, agricultural type of industry within our 1 acre lot. So for them to come in and decide that they want to have this large agricultural property is, I think, a little overwhelming and that's an understatement. It's quite overwhelming for our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Director.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. Those types of restrictive covenants on agricultural land are now illegal under state law. They were done commonly by people who were taking agricultural land to try and create basically residential subdivisions. Since then, because of the concern of agricultural land being taken out of agriculture or potential agriculture and turned into residential, high-end subdivisions, the state legislature, it doesn't change your restrictive covenants because they're grandfathered. But the fact that you have restrictive covenants is not necessarily something that prevents somebody else from actually taking agricultural land surrounding you and doing agricultural production. And that's a mandate under state law.
I just want to add that our covenant was just recently extended to 70 years. So it's essentially our lifetime.
Any questions? This one. Okay, next one, Dr. Henry Lloyd. Please state your name, where you reside, and you have 3 minutes.
Good morning, good afternoon, members of the Windward Planning Commission. I live on Melimano Street. My name is Dr. Henry Lloyd. Together with my wife, Pauline Kiawa Lloyd, we continue to object to the location of the proposed connection charter school in Kaumana. My wife remains hospitalized in Honolulu and once again was unable to attend the public hearing. Let me recapitulate. As educators ourselves, we strongly believe in the public school system. As graduates of Hilo High School and Honolulu High School, we know the system works. Let me make this clear. We are not against the students of Connections Public Charter School. We object to the proposed location. The last Planning Commission meeting, Chairman Demal asked the applicant to reach out to the community. We've had no such communication from the applicant. Instead, I'm greatly concerned about the recent newspaper articles regarding the ethical conduct of the vice principal. We question the actions of their administration and leadership. We asked the Windward Planning Commission to reject the special permit application for Connections Public Charter School. The intersection of Kaumana Drive and Adita Street is dangerous. Once again, I'm going to show you the photograph of a recent accident right at the very intersection of Kaumana Street and Adita. There is only one entrance and exit to the proposed school. This is dangerous. There is not enough water for 381 students and 50 faculty members. The proposed septic system will find its way into the cave and sewage will flow into the groundwater and down to Hilo Bay. Development will irreparably damage the fragile ecosystem of the caves in the Lokia Forest watershed, which presently protects Hilo. Kaumana Elementary School is half a mile away. Ernest V. De Silva is less than 2 miles away from the proposed project. The traffic impact analysis is obsolete. It was done over 3.5 years ago. It did not account for increases in traffic as a result of future build-outs and other developments around the area. That is Pacific Plantation 2, the new Hokulani Street subdivision, and the addition of the Hawaiian Homes subdivision in Upper Kaumana. There is not enough room for the applicant to provide a full width, 50-foot right-of-way on Adita Street with concrete curbs and sidewalks on both sides. There is a concrete channel that cannot be moved. Number 10, problems will occur when 2 separate school properties are bifurcated by Adita Street. Here's your lower section and this is the upper section. Cross-vehicle traffic and pedestrian traffic will occur. A crosswalk in the middle of the block will be dangerous. Lastly, over 500 residents in Kaumana have signed a petition against the proposed project. There is no community support. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Any questions for the testifier? Okay, thank you. You all may be seated. We'll bring on the next 5 people. Okay, Noreen, Laura, Jan, Yokoyama, Ling Peng, Arnold Bergerstrom, and
Just make a short announcement for those people who are here for our 1:30 agenda. We are going to lose quorum on that item, so there can be no decision making by the commission. And that's on item number 6 on the geothermal asset fund guidelines for impact mitigation projects. Just wanna let you know in case you're waiting for that.
okay, can you all raise your right hand and will you swear in front of the other truth on this matter in front of your planning commission? We'll start with Noreen, and please state your name, where you reside, and 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Noreen Okuhara. I live at 1290 Kaumana Drive. My husband and I have lived there for 40 plus years. And as I reiterated at last month's meeting, I'm very concerned about the water rights because I will live right below the school. And parents thought, what if a fire should happen in my home and I wouldn't have enough water to put the fire out? What's going to happen to me? We've never been on welfare or anything, and I don't expect to do it at this point in time either. And, as a retired teacher, I am not against education. I am very pro-education. but the way Connections have handled things, that goes against my grain. Because I have no prior notices of their meetings. I have yet to receive the letter dated on December 5th. And from my understanding, they were mandated by you to have a meeting with the constituents around the area. Why do they have to wait so long? They had over a month to plan this meeting. Why is the meeting on Connections? As far as I'm concerned, the meeting should be on a neutral ground. If Kaumana School was busy, they couldn't use it. We've got De Silva School, we've got Hilo Union School, we've got Hilo Inter, Hilo High School. So what's the big deal? Not all schools will be busy, and why that time frame? 12 to 2. You know, people are working. Not everybody's a retired person or everybody's, a teacher who will be on vacation. People would have to take off from work. When we had our meetings were always during the evening time. So this did not interfere with people's working status, that they have to take off from work to attend a meeting, or they have to do this or that. As far as I'm concerned, it's not fair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions for the testifier? Moving on to Jane Yokoyama. Jan Yokoyama, representing Kaumana Drive neighborhood.
Yes.
So please state your name, where you reside, and your.
My name is Jan Yokoyama. I live at 1300 Kaumana Drive. I did receive the letter right before I came here. My concern, like Maureen said, it's between 12 and 2, when most of our community members are working. It's also scheduled at Connection School, which I do not consider a neutral ground. However, if so be it, I will attend. But I want to address my quality of life. I'm a lifelong resident of Kaumana Drive. I will probably die there also. This school is proposed to be a 24/7, 365-day-a-year school. We're going to have dorms. We're going to have a horse barn. Most regular public schools close at a certain time. They're closed on weekends and holidays. So we're going to be subject to smells, noises, of course, increased traffic. And I just want to live the rest of my life in peace. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the testifier? Okay, next testifier, Ming Peng.
My name is Lane Novak. I'm testifying on behalf of Ming Peng. Ming Peng has lived on Lelimano Street. Sorry, this is his written testimony. I didn't pass out. This is what he says. I live on Lelimano Street. I am still opposed to the proposed construction of Connections Charter School on Deeper Street. I would like to follow up on testimony since the last meeting on November 9th. As you have heard and read from testimony, there is overwhelming opposition within the community with no community support for this project. By Connections administrators' own admission, this project has been planned for at least 7 years. Therefore, they have had years to consider and develop plans that would not impact the community, including access roads and water usage. They have had attorneys and other professionals help them along the way. For example, as Commissioner Gonzalez astutely realized during the last meeting, the increase in traffic along Iquitos Street of over 200 additional cars per day will be significant, such that alternatives should have been considered, yet this was not done. Connections administrators have had years to garner community support. I realize that the Land Use Commission suggested that the community and Connections administrators continue to meet. However, there is a pattern of behavior, as testified by neighbors in the last meeting, that has resulted in a broken trust. This is a trust that is unlikely to be mended. There has been no testimony, no specifics given from Connections Administration as to how their use of the land will in fact elevate and improve surrounding neighborhood. There has only been deflections and obfuscations from the administration. If approved, there will be no oversight during the construction of this school. Because the pattern of behavior has been lacking from the Connections Administration, neighbors will be forced to wonder if regulations are being followed in an ethical and appropriate manner. Neighbors will be forced in being the permit, land use, and ethics police. As the Windward Planning Commission, please hear the Kaumana community, who will be most impacted and the ones condemned to endure increase in traffic and utilization of resources by this project. Connections have had years to get all the ducks in a row. They have none. Please deny the continuance and deny this project. The Kaumana community should not have to make allowances for the Connections Administrators poor planning. Thank you. Dr. Mayfield.
Thank you. Any questions for this time? Okay, moving on to Arnold Ferguson. Please state your name, where you reside, and your 3 minutes.
My name is Arnold Ferguson. I live in the Kaumana area, 1065 Kaumana Drive. I lived in the Kaumana area as well as with my family. From when we were about 4 years old, running around. And this development again is something I'm against, because when I was growing up in the area about 12 years old, 11 years old, my mom used to take us to school, and she always used to say, "We come John, we come John." And what happened is somebody was taking care of things to say, "We come John." She said, "Wing-Kong Town is going to make everything better for us because they're going to build a complex for basketball and baseball and all of the subdivisions. They make all these promises about development and they're going to take care of public first, but never came through yet. The roads up there have not been improved. We call it a skinny trail when we were small. And I've worked throughout the island, and I feel that the best service that can be done for this school is to do it in the area of KL. Because KL, the value of land is not real high. You have fire department, you have police department, you have all these things right in the area of KL. I work KL. They have a lot of land, all that land on top. That little land that you're talking about 7 acres, going to scratch beside of the land we do have. So we have the fire department, police department, all situated where they're working out of. And we have room over there, and I think it's where it should be made and done. And we service the community. And I never heard anything about our value of our land after we make this thing. You know, they have, when you pay your taxes, you pay so much when you move your land. Yeah. I haven't heard, I missed out the meeting over there, but I never heard anything about who cares about the people that, me, I get land, come on, I buy it, I bust my food and take care of it. And I like my kids get place to come, that's my prerogative, I think, as one citizen. To go buy the land and say, you know what, I'll go buy this land for my kids, because I can, when I old, they can take me to be, this and that, and what have you. No such thing now, because you never can come and keep in the land, you want to sell them. Because I don't know what you're going to keep you on the road, how much you can sell a land. So I have land in Kaumana, I have several different lands. And now I sit on in the evening and I wonder, what will happen now? I get the kids, I get everything set up, I retire, everything, now what happened? Now we'll get from school. Yeah, okay, plenty of room but I guess that's all I have to say. What happened is, in reality, I'm very not prepared. And that's because I was doing some work and my truck tire stopped. And I get my boy down there, put the 40 tires on for $800 something. And I left that tablet in the car. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions for the testifier? Okay, last testifier for this group, Jeff Gomes. Please state your name when you
Before I start, would you mind looking at the handout I gave you? I spent a lot of time and money and preparing them for you. And I want to summarize and I have to read them all. Thank you. May I show you which ones I have?
You can just go ahead and handle your testimony.
My name is Jeff Gomes.
Specific and talk about certain ones.
I don't want to touch on all.
You go ahead and you have 3
My
minutes.
name is Jeff Gomes. I live in Kaumana. I'm right next door to the site of the property. I reached out to the school in April. I went down to the school because I was invited by the principal. I met with Bill Thorpe. He does great work at school. He does the Makery project. He works with lasers. I work with lasers. I offered him help. This is the email he sent me. He asked me for help. I wrote back, said no problem. I offered him thousands and thousands of dollars in time and equipment and supplies. I offered him, bring the kids, I'll show you how to do it. And no response after that. I believe I was labeled as a head guy. October 8th, Eric Boyd, the, whatever he is at the school, stands outside my home and takes pictures of my home, terrorizing my wife and daughter. I call the police, they tell me what he's doing is legal, he's on county property, he can take pictures. All right, it's done. On the 10th, Ted Hong comes to my home for the cave inspection. Jeff Darrow was there, a bunch of my neighbors were there, and Ted Hong tries to pick a fight with me in front of everybody. Anybody, any of my neighbors that were there, raise your hand. For no reason. Ted knew I was upset about Eric Boyd taking pictures of my home, and so he brings it up again. And we're not there to take pictures of signs, we're there to look at the cave. But since then, Ted has been picking on me and trying to get me to do something negative in public. I don't know why. And then, recently, I get this message from John Patrick. If you don't have it, should I read it? He messages to me on Facebook. We're not friends on Facebook, this is what he writes. Just wanted to let you know that yesterday one of our high school students committed suicide. I'm in no way blaming any of you, I just wanted to let you know. Emotions are running high. Your signs are not helping. Please share our sad news with your friends and family. It's the kind of sick behavior I gotta deal with from the school. They take a picture of my home. They make a video. I was told the video was made by a pastor. They put it on the internet, and now my home is a target. They steal signs, trash my yard. I gotta put up with this. I need intervention and grief. You need to tell them to stop it, knock it off, act like adults, become a responsible school. Tell them no. I supposed to go to that meeting at the school? I know they're gonna try and hit my home again when I'm gone. It doesn't make sense. This is their behavior.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gomes. Any questions for the testifier? Okay, thank you guys very much. You can see Dave. We'll bring up the next. We have 4 more testifiers. We have Jeff Gomes representing Matt Medeiros, Carol Zimmerman, and Tom Rapp. You guys raise your right hand. Please, you guys, I swear you do you swear and affirm to tell the truth in front of the Windward Planning Commission today? Thank you. Jeff Gomes, you go ahead. You've already stated your name. Go ahead and get 3 minutes.
This is a letter from Matthew J. Medeiros, PhD, Department of Integrative Biology, University of California, and Department of Entomology, Smithsonian Institute, and Francis G. Hoare, PhD, Department of Entomology, BP, Bishop Museum. Kaumana Cave is one of the longest known caves at over 2,500 meters long. As Stone wrote, Kaumana Cave has been colonized by at least 15 species of endemic cave invertebrate over a 110-year history. Survival of these species is dependent on a native Ohia Uluhe successional forest overlying them. Sections of the cave which do not have Metrosidoris Ohia roots due to surface clearing are virtually devoid of cave species. Several cave invertebrate species rely on live Ohia roots growing through the surface of the cave to provide food and would quickly perish upon removal of the trees from the surface. These include species native to Hawaiian caves such as Valerius, plant droppers, Schrankia moths, and a few others I can't pronounce. Additionally, although some of these species might also be able to subsist off the roots of other tree species, plant droppers are host specific and can only eat Ohia roots. Basically what the letter is saying is the world is watching, and your decision on what you allow to happen on top of the cave is going to be noted. So please deny this project.
Any questions to the testifier? I got a question. Matthew J. Medeiros, is he live here?
No, he lives in Oakland, California.
Okay, moving on. Carol Zimmerman, and please state your name and where you reside.
My name is Carol Zimmerman. I live at 94 Laimana Street in Hilo. And I'm asking, thank you, Operator, for allowing us to testify. I'm asking the commission to consider continuance of the request for the Kaumana Connections site. I would like to request that so that all voices and other voices can be heard, the voices of our children, the voices of our children in Hawaii, that they can be heard too. I would like all voices to be heard, including the children. I am a parent of a child that attends Connections School, and I'm one of 3, not 2, as Mr. Thatcher said, one of 3 families that has chosen to leave my home every week to travel to Hilo on Monday, Sunday, and come to the school at great expense to my family, because all three of these families, we rent homes here in Hilo in order to do that, to go to the school in Hilo. Not only, and then on the weekends, we all 3 travel back to the rest of our family that lives in Kaumana, because we don't have a good alternative to education in Kaumana. We've chosen to come here at that expense, our out-of-pocket expense, because an education is very important to our children. And I can list off the top of my head maybe dozens more founders that would like to do the same thing if they had an opportunity to better their educational chances for their children. I have written something that it was in an email, you probably have it, and I'll just read this to you now. I understand there are concerns about having a school in Kaumana neighborhood, fears and content of change. But we cannot make decisions for the future of our children, future leaders of this community, this country, based on fear. I want what every parent wants for her child, the best education possible. An education where my child, he, is challenged on all levels, from creativity to critical thinking. I want a school that is willing to go beyond just teaching to the test, because that is not an education. I want a school that he looks forward to attending every day because his innate desire for the love of learning is supported and not snuffed out. And finally, it's very important that the school provides a safe environment so that learning can occur. I believe, based on my personal experiences with Connection School, that the Kaumana site will allow all of these aspects of education to be addressed, from environmental, energy design, agriculture, business and marketing, hands-on experiences. The school can impact not but a few, but thousands of Hawaii's children. And all of the children of Hawaii deserve this kind of education. Maybe someday with this school as a model, we as parents, we as aunts and uncles and grandpas and grandmas can give all of our children what they deserve, the best education possible, the brightest future.
Thank you very
Please
much.
support Kaumana. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for the testifier?
Yes.
Commissioner Arnold?
You mentioned that there are some parents that were located in children if they could afford to, they would like to participate in the elections program.
I believe there's at least a dozen or more of concerned parents that would want alternative education for their children in the common area that would, if financially possible, would consider, would do this, participate in school.
If I may suggest to you to add credibility to your testimony, I'd be interested in having their names on a list saying that they ultimately support your position.
Yes.
Any more questions for the testifier? Okay, we're adding in one more testifier. Is anybody else from the public who would like to testify? Okay, one more. Okay, so how about before I hit Tom Rafferty, how about I swear you in person? You without them raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm to tell the truth on this matter before the Hawaii County Planning Commission? So now, Mr. Tom Rafferty, state your name, where you reside, and your 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioners. Tom Rafferty, I live in Puna, Iowa area. And I have 2 children that are attending the public charter school, Corrections Public Charter School. I'm gonna speak on traffic and community-based school and transportation that it is of concern to the community. And I appreciate this kind of open dialogue, because I believe that this open dialogue that we're able to resolve issues, we come up with creative ideas that we can all resolve issues and be able to work together, live together, and do things together. On the issue of traffic, I know I've seen a lot myself when I used to travel to Kona to work and a traffic accident on that road before they come up with the new road. But I think having a school over there and installing signs that it's a school zone area, I think it will actually alleviate or reduce the risk of having traffic accidents in that area, because now we have a school zone area. Transportation, we have a bus system. Although we may have 384, whatever the population of the school is, we do have a bus system that, they meet up in certain areas. For example, like in KL, by the intersection of Kealpahu Road and the Volcano Road, if they meet up there and they'll carpooling, they'll alleviate traffic coming into town, and I think that will continue. Community-based school, Mr. Thatcher talked about connections or charter school being not community-based. So no matter where you take this school, or any school, public charter school, you will never have that kind of support because it's not community-based. It's not, it is for open to all communities. go to the schools that we have here that are community-based, where they serve the community that they're, charter school, they serve the whole island, so open the whole island. With that, I urge you to consider all that, when you make your decisions, and I really urge you to see if you can continue these the hearing process of the special use permit for the school, and I just really want to see those kids in a better place than they have right now. Two separate areas, so please consider that. Thank you very much.
Any questions for the testifier? Okay, we'll take Lee Botello. Please state your name, where you reside, and your 3 minutes.
My name is Lee Botello, and I live on Windward Street. I apologize for being a last minute person to sign up to speak. But I was here at the last month's meeting and listening to the testimony today. A lot of people are talking about whether or not charter schools are good. The testifying on behalf of the program of the Connections Charter School, that's not what the issue is here. The issue should be whether or not the application for a school to use this property is the appropriate use for the property. And consider the amount of county water is insufficient to build a school or to support a school, much less the additional water required for caretaker's residence, which they plan to build, and for agricultural use. So that's one of the main concerns, is the amount of water that they will have access to. Is it so is the school appropriate use for this parcel of land, when there's not enough water to support it? In addition, the access to the property, to school, will it adversely impact the surrounding property? Yes, it will. We talk about Kaumana Drive, but Evita Street is the only access for this subdivision. We add 200 cars every day, twice a day, to everyone who also has to go to work and take our kids to school at the same time that these people will be coming in, turning around, and needing to get back out on Kaumana Drive. It will severely impact the traffic and the access and egress for the residents of the subdivision. It's really all I have to say is to remind you to focus whether or not this is an appropriate use of the property. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the testifier? Okay, we have 3 more people signed up. Thank you guys. 3 more people signed up. And anybody else? Last call. Okay, we have 3 more. We have okay, we have 4. Okay, we have Alan McNary, Steve Hirakami, and Wayne Connie. State you 3 right now. Why don't you raise your right hand? Do you swear and affirm to tell the truth on this matter in front of the Windward Planning Commission? Okay, we'll start off with Alan McNary.
This is an odd position for me. Normally when I'm in these hearings, I'm covering it as a reporter. So, but in this case, I have a direct interest. My son is a student at Connections. My son is very bright. He has ADHD. I can't address a lot of the issues about the exact site. I do know that he needs the school. He works much better in small classrooms. there are only two, as far as I know, charter high schools on this side of the island. And, then, I mean, I would love if there was if he started out here at our volcano school, but there's not enough high school kids up there to have a high school there. And to get the critical mass, even for a small charter school, you gotta have a huge area. And I'm very, very glad that I got into connections. Just a couple of things. I'm not going to cover the stuff like the access, although these are people are coming in on buses. It's not as high an impact as say a small shopping center. And I know that this commission has approved such things in other agricultural communities. Usually a neighborhood school is a talking point for a neighborhood. If someone's coming in to look at a house, they ask, is there a school within bicycling distance or within walking distance? So it's not necessarily a bad thing for it to be in the community. And only one other small point. I've written a lot of articles about ecology, as many of you know. I've written articles about Kaumana Cave. This is not, the welfare of Kaumana Cave has not necessarily been a strong concern of this neighborhood. When people were exploring mapping that cave out a few years ago, they were flushed on. People are using that cave. They found the reefs of toilet paper and diapers in there. If you're going to address that cave, there's a lot of things you can fix besides. I mean, the high school should, of course, have a proper septic system. A lot of these houses don't. Something to think about. And that's about all I have to say.
You any question for the next lawyer? Okay, we have Steve here coming. You've already stated your name, so just go ahead, 3 minutes.
Good, thank you. I'd like to just mention that I wanted to address the fact that there are a lot of students here this morning that are eager to testify. I know that our Shady Grove went first, so the students didn't have time. But you know, this is a great educational experience for them to see government in action. You know, this is more of a global issue. You know, Connections has been involved in a lot of projects that have contributed to the community. I know for sure that they've received some BWED grants. They've studied the stream. They've studied the ecosystem out here in Hilo Bay. They are absolutely adding to the community. And now, there's never going to be a perfect location for any kind of development. As you know, geothermal is an issue. What's the perfect location? There are always going to be setbacks. There's always going to be things that get in the way. But I think that you have to really weigh the benefits over the disadvantages and see if those can be mitigated through working cooperative with each other, not like drawing a line in the sand and say you can't do that. Because you know what? Things can be mitigated, traffic, busing, all of those issues. But on the greater issue is Connections School property located now in an old store building right in the downtown in Irvine with homeless people right there? Or will they be able to really contribute to solving problems that haven't even been created yet about sustainability, about our food project? We're lucky enough to be on 25 acres out in Hawaii. We have fish ponds, we have taro gardens, we're raising animals, we got a macadamia orchard. These kind of activities are so valuable to the life and breath of a student in our society, especially on Hawaii Island. Come on. we depend so much on oil, we depend so much on importing food. These kids are answers to some of our problems about, these are the future engineers that are going to design the kind of renewable energy sources and contribute to the food industry in our sustainability of our island. These schools, we're not takers. Our school is all about giving. We teach our kids first to give, volunteer, and to give community service. And I think that you have to weigh the benefits of creating community givers right in front of you. So on behalf of the children that we're here today, I would like to consider them, consider their voices that you haven't heard and you probably will hear at a later meeting. Consider the children of Hawaii, of this island. Thank you.
Any questions for Tessfire? Okay, can Perry Marks sit, but we're gonna hear Wayne Kanemoto first. So Wayne, can you state your name, where you reside, and your experience?
My name is Wayne Kanemoto, and I live on Malimano Street. The point I haven't heard is, and I'm not sure if it's appropriate for this planning commission or not, but my biggest concern is the financial commitment charter school has for this project. I've been a school principal, I've run Lapa School, and I've been an administrator at different schools. And as you already know, the schools have faced tremendous pressure because of money. I thought that Lapa School, I was there when it was they had the centennial celebration. And look, it's become a charter school, and I frankly don't think that they'll be able to survive because of the financial condition. You have to have revenues coming in. And I haven't seen a financial commitment base for connections. They're undertaking a very large project because of their construction, and even operational costs really need to be addressed, and I don't see that. So I don't see the appropriateness. Yes, they are going to be built, and they're trying to be built in our community, but I don't see it as being appropriate. They haven't been a good neighbor as far as I'm concerned. They have, but my biggest point is that if they start and they don't finish, if they can't continue, what's going to happen then? Who's going to be responsible for whatever they put in? And so, that would be one big question that I have is, and I don't know whether it's under your purview to consider those things, but financially, times are hard. I don't know how they're going to do this. For a lot of charter schools, I don't think they're going to exist. They're going to have to change the way they do business. Thank you.
Any questions for Aspire? Okay, Perry Marks, you've already stated your name, so go ahead.
Back to the traffic. Last time we were here, we spoke about the traffic study that was done, and you mentioned about the light down by the gas station. I didn't hear, or maybe there was, but I didn't hear that there was any study done on that traffic coming up Monaco Road to Wright Road and then down. Because as I stated last time, that's how you get from Upper Kaumana to Puna and back. So you have to take that into account. If you only study that traffic light and how the cars are going to stack up at that hill, then you have not done Kaumana any service at all. Because I guarantee you, people are not going to drive all the way across town to get to Wainuiui or Kaumana and turn up there. They're going to filter up as they can as they get across town. And if you live off of Bright Road, you will know that I come down Kaumana to bring my kids to school in the morning. As I'm coming down Kaumana, almost every day, there is a car that comes up to the stop sign, blows right on through it, and takes a right down the road. That's how they do it. It's a roll through. Nobody stops there. So please take that into account. Please reassess the traffic situation. Don't delude yourself into thinking that everybody's going to come through that stoplight. They're not. I also take exception to the fact that everybody thinks that this traffic situation only affects Adidas Street and the neighbors that live immediately around it. affects everybody that lives above Aquila Street. That's how I get to my house and back. So that's what I wanted to say. I just want to make sure that you take that into account. Like I said, it's already kind of a problem with the roll-through stop. It will get worse, especially as you add, I don't care if it's 50 cars, not 200. If you add cars to that situation, it's going to be a problem. That's all.
Any questions for the testifier? Okay, we have our last testifier, Jeff Gomes, for his wife, Wendy Gomes.
Hawaii Administrative Rules Title 11, Department of Health, Chapter 200, 11-200-9, Chapter 6. Distribute concurrently with the filing in paragraph 5 the draft environmental assessment to other agencies having jurisdiction or expertise, as well as citizen groups and individuals like myself and my neighbors, which the proposing agency reasonably believes to be affected. And if they didn't think we'd be affected living in Pacific Plantation, they gotta be crazy. Everybody living there is gonna be affected, and none of us were notified. None of us. Please look at my handout that I made for you. Turn to the second page on the bottom. This is the school minutes. Local school board minutes, July 27, 2009. Mr. Thatcher reported, our environmental assessment has been made available to relevant government agencies. If it's not questioned or contested, we would be doing a no significant impact statement rather than an environmental impact statement. He had no intention of notifying us. The school had no intention of letting us know they were going to sneak this EA by. It's right there.
Okay, any questions for the testifier? Well, with that, the public testimony is done. So I'd like to entertain a motion for discussion. What we have on the table now is planning department is recommending we continue the session. Any questions, commissioners? Would you like to ask the applicant questions? Would you like to ask staff questions? If not, we'll be ready to ask them.
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
I'm in the vegetable powers, but you're not going to talk to your chemical officer. What's the rationale behind that?
The Attorney General's office has indicated that they wish to take over representation for Connection School. So they will be replacing Mr. Hong. So,
I'm assuming that we're talking about the state attorney general?
the State Attorney General's office is going to be, Connections is a state school.
So, in terms of being a party representative in this commission, this is what I'm concerned about. Does that mean that they're siding with one party or the other?
Connections is a state public school. The Attorney General's office represents the state and its agencies, and so this would be like an agency, department, or just as if a state employee had an action in certain circumstances that AG's office would represent the state employee. So this is no different. And this is somewhat, I mean, we don't have this issue come up very often in our meetings, but this is very analogous to court proceedings where you start off with one attorney, another attorney is going to come in, so the person withdraws, and typically, the courts routinely grant the continuance, in the interest of, in fairness to the applicant. Because, it's basically, no one is really disadvantaged in the sense of a continuance. And it's a little inconvenient for people who have to come back out again. But the disadvantage to the applicant, if you deny them the opportunity to have a new attorney represent them and have time to come in, as Mr. Hong indicated, the reason that the AG couldn't come today is that they had another deposition, which is always such there's a tremendous disadvantage to the applicant if you don't allow the continuance. And, it's my recommendation that you allow the continuance because, frankly, let me be blunt, if you deny the continuance, that's appealable. I would go to court, a judge would look at this and would say that we have been unreasonable in denying the continuance. And it would send it right back down to us, except everybody would have to write legal briefs on the issue. So I think it's the wiser course of action is to grant the continuance, allow the AG, because we don't know what the AG is going to say. But we should have that opportunity to hear from them and give the applicant that benefit.
Whatever the decision of this commission is, let's say, for the charter or recommended we do not, the very position of the Attorney General is representing the charter school. Does that mean that he would have to side with the charter school at the next level?
Well, if he is representing the charter school, he is taking their side. He is advocating for them, he is their attorney. You don't have a client and advocate against your client. But you have to understand, this is we have a situation here where the state land board has already approved the lease. So you have the state having taken that position. The state office of planning has already submitted testimony supporting this, saying that this is consistent with special use permits and that they support this application. So now you just have one more state agency, which in this case is the AG's office coming in. But the way that the special use permit process works is that if the County Planning Commission recommends approval, it then goes to the State Land Use Commission, because this is more than 15 acres of land. The State Land Use Commission is the body that then determines whether the special use permit was granted or not. However, if the Windward Planning Commission says that they want to deny the application, then the application dies. Because under the process set up under state law, you have to have a favorable recommendation from the local planning commission, which would be this one, before it can proceed to the state land use commission.
That's what I have a question. Assuming that we do not, the representative is the AG's office.
They would then represent connections in appeal to circuit court, and then Mr. Kanaka-Oli would represent the commission, and I guess Mr. Brillante, not the property owner, or possibly Ms. Self, because it would represent the planning department and the planning director.
Thank you. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, any more questions for staff or the commissioner? Actually, this one makes this. So if we say yes, this gets kicked up to the state land commission. Yes. If we say no, if we say no, the application dies, they're going to appeal it we don't know that they will appeal it, but I would assume that there's a likely appeal if it goes to circuit court. And they would, look at whether we had been arbitrary, capricious, whether, we had valid reasons. They would look at all of that in terms of looking at, our decision. There are a set of rules that they would look at. But you shouldn't base your decision on whether there's going to be an appeal or whether it's going to the land use commission. You should be exercising independent judgment on whether you believe that this qualifies for a special use permit, and then vote appropriately. Thank you.
Okay, so just to clarify, we are voting, what's agendized is the continuance to future meeting with us. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, 'cause I thought I heard the conversation is a continuing meeting to the land use commission. It's a continuing meeting to the Windward Planning Commission.
Correct. And the next Windward Planning Commission would be January 10th, 2013.
With that said, anybody interested in making a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to propose a motion to continue the application SPP 12-138, connection to Century Charter School until the next Windward Planning Commission meeting on January 10th, 2013.
Commissioner Hanson.
Second.
Okay, into discussion, I'd like to see what happens with this, next meeting that the applicant has with the, community. I wanna see the results, the water credits, I guess we have it in written documents. The applicant is doing what they're asked of from us, so I think I would support this meeting.